Hey guys, we're back in the garage today, and today we're talking about LS swaps. Specifically the LS swap that I did twice on my 1971 Chevelle. I kept meticulous details. I have all my receipts. I'm going to walk you through every part you need. Where I think this video is going to differ from some of the others is that I'm going to talk about all the small things, as far as all the little adapters and plugs and things you'll need to properly do an LS swap on your vehicle. Guys, I'm putting all the part numbers in the description. So scroll down below, you can see the whole list of everything I bought and all the part numbers. I hope that helps. Most importantly, I'm going to share with you some things that I learned, some things that I wish I would have done differently. And if you stay till the end, I'm going to tell you about a big mistake that I made that was expensive and cost me a whole season of driving my car. So strap in and let's get into it. So when I first started, I put together a spreadsheet, because that's what I do, of all the parts that I think I needed or that I thought that I needed to make this happen. I told my wife it was going to cost me about $3,000. Really, it was about $8,000. How would I do in that budget? Stick around and find out. But in today's dollars, to do what I did, there's no way that that's going to be an accurate number. Now, I know that there's a bunch of you right now that are saying, hey, I could do an LS swap on the cheap. I could get a $500 donor motor and get it into a vehicle. And I know that that's absolutely the case. And I'm sure you could do it. But realistically, if you're putting it into your hot rod or your classic muscle car, are you going to cut corners? Are you going to skimp on parts? Are you going to use old parts or parts that have 125,000 miles on it? Do you want it to look nice? I want to share with you one important thing. LS swaps are the gateway drug to spending more money on your hot rod, but for good reason, because you get a lot more out of that LS than you did out of the Gen 1 small block. I'm not bashing on Gen 1 small blocks. In fact, there's a pretty badass Gen 1 small block in that car right there. And it'll probably always be a Gen 1 type motor. But for a guy like me that wants to cruise, not spend a lot of time working on the car, but wants lots of power when he steps on the pedal, LS swap was for me. My original plan was to not do anything to this engine, but just put it in kind of as is. Anyhow, it was going to be more than what I had. It'd be a fun driver, good cruiser, and that's all I wanted. But things snowballed really fast. So here's an example. I bought these $2. It gave me a good baseline of what I was going to need to do in order to get an LS in my GMA body or just an LS swap in general. It was good reading. Are they necessary? Probably not. Are they good books? Yeah. Would I recommend them? It's up to you. Another thing, you're going to want to stick around to the end. I have a secret. It's not a secret. On how to save money on new parts when doing one of these conversions. It's a simple trick that I employed a lot, but I also collected parts over a couple years and I planned ahead. So I knew when I was going to buy my big ticket items, I'm going to show you how to save. So I told you I kept records. I kept this project book. Literally all the receipts, manuals, instructions, everything I needed. Somewhere there's a bunch of, there's receipts for my transmission, all the parts that I bought for this car, even the small ones. And the other ones that I couldn't find, honestly, I went to Amazon and to Summit Racing and saw what I purchased. Let's start with the motor. You're going to need one of those. I bought mine out of I bought my second one from a place called D&B Auto Wrecking. There was a local salvage yard. Told me they had an LS 6-liter out of a 3500 Express fan, ex-airport car. If I can find a picture, here it is. Good running car. It was. They actually drove it to the spot in the junkyard when they parked it. I trust those guys because they run a business. In fact, he told me, it says, how do I know that this thing ran? Because I couldn't start it. I couldn't hear it run. There was no video. The gauge cluster was gone, so I couldn't see how many miles it actually had on it. And he goes, you know what? We wouldn't be in business if we were selling people junk motors. So buyer beware, because there's a lot of junk out there. First thing you're going to need is an engine. Mine was $800 plus tax. That was $850. Well, that motor is not going to go in the car as is. You're going to need LS conversion adjustable motor mounts so you can position the engine forward to back in that engine bay. Those I bought from Summit Racing. They were $167. Next, you're going to want new motor mounts. I went polyurethane because the Tremec TKX that I bought came with a polyurethane trans mount, so I made my engine mounts match. You're going to want new ones of those. I bought Energy Suspension polyurethane motor mounts. They were $116. Whew. Guys, there is no way that truck oil pan is going to fit in that car. Right now, I'm sure there's somebody firing up their keyboard all hot and bothered saying, listen, moron, I got one to fit. Here's how I did it. Great. Leave me a comment. I'd love to know. So I bought this. It's the Holley 302-2. It's a great oil pan. And guess what? It's made for low clearance applications, like the GMA body, like my Chevelle. Yeah, that's a problem. We'll get to that. I paid $350 for that oil pan. That same oil pan today is now $460, $100 more than it was just a few years ago. The windage tray with that oil pan that came with that LS motor isn't going to work. You're going to have to modify it. Lucky for you, I made a video. You could buy a new one, but there's no need. Don't waste your money. What you will need is a new oil pan gasket. I paid $40 for mine. They're running about $50 in today's prices. You're also going to need one of these. Holley calls out a part number that's compatible with their oil pans. You're going to need a new one. They're about 45 bucks. Guess what? This part that actually reads the amount of oil, you got to buy it separate. It's about 45 bucks. I made an installation video on how to install that oil pan. You can't do it without RTV. Too bad that's about 10 bucks. Let's add that to the list. I personally prefer Loctite 598. That's my go-to. Now you could put this engine in bone stock, like I said, right out of the van that it came from. Plenty of horsepower, lots of fun, fuel injection, you got everything you need. Why would you? When a bunch of horsepower is just a camshaft away. That's right, like I said, this is the gateway drug to spending more money. But it's worthwhile money because it'll sound great and have a whole lot more power. So what did I buy? I bought this. Why did I buy it? Because the chop starts here. No, actually I bought it because it's truck cam. That means I get power everywhere. This isn't a race car. This is a driver. It's a 5-speed. It's a fun car. This is so I can go cruise, but then I can also get on it and rip around if I want to. Truck cam gives me power throughout the entire power band. Is it a racing cam? No. Is it great? Yes. Does it sound good? Oh yeah. I bought the kit. It came with the cam. Rest in peace, Chuck. It came with springs and push rods. I bought it from a company called Dynasty. They were selling through Amazon. I paid about 600 bucks for it. To me, 600 hours well spent. I've almost doubled the price of that motor though. It was worth it. Hey, don't take my word for it. Richard Holdner does all kinds of really cool videos where he pulls dyno runs with a bunch of camshaft combinations, including this one and several others that sound just as good and are also big bang for the buck. But it doesn't stop there. Like I said, gateway drug. You're going to need gaskets, starting with a timing chain gasket. That was 23 bucks. How about the lifter valley? That was another $19. How about a new oil crossover plate? Because if you're pulling the timing chain off and you're going to put a new cam in, there's no sense using that old plate and gasket for that oil crossover. That's where guys lose oil pressure. You know what? When you're in there, it's worth changing it. Guess what? It's another 19 bucks. So guys, this is where I got into trouble. This is not a show car. This has a Mako paint job on it from 1991. This is 300 hours worth of paint that's still on this car in 2026. That said, are you really going to drop an LS that you got out of a junkyard with all its accessories straight from the junkyard? This is the trap you fall on fast. Again, gateway drug. I bought a new water pump. Why? Look at how good that looks. Wow, dirty. Yep, I drive it. It rains. I still drive it in the rain. That water pump, $122. That water pump's going to need a adjustable thermostat housing. That guy right there. Guess what? It's $65. 185 degree thermostat. That's another 25 bucks. Radiator hose. You're going to need an 1.25 inches coming off the LS water pump, and it's going to go to the 1.5 inches. That matches up with the stock radiator. I bought Gates hoses. This one was 15. That one was 23. I bought big ones that had a bunch of curves in them, and then I cut the ones that fit. I think I did pretty good. What you're going to need though is this guy. And it's adapter. And it's an adapter. One side goes from an ID of 1.25 inches, and the other side goes to an ID of 1.5 inches. It also has a line for the steam port, which I hid under here. I don't know if you can see it, but I hid it under there and ran the steam port line through here. This adapter was 23 bucks. It's all adding up. Now the engine I got was complete with an alternator. This one, I cleaned it up. This is the clean version of this alternator. Am I going to put this on my hot rod? No way, man. Guess what? I bought a new one of those too. Look at it. It's front and center. It cost me over 100 bucks. In fact, 180 bucks. But it's an AC Delco. You going to use the original starter? You could. Do you know the history? 126,000 miles. You know how many starts? I bought a new one. It was on Amazon. It was only 68 bucks. Like I said, this LS was complete, which means it also came with a power steering pump. I could have reused it, but I didn't. I bought a new one. This Cardone unit set me back about 100 bucks. There was a lesson here. I bought that Cardone unit off Amazon. I also bought a second one at a local auto parts store that I paid twice as much for. Guess what? The part number was the same. The power steering pump was the same. The literature was the same. The box were the same. In fact, they were produced within a month of each other. The difference? One was $80 more. The one on Amazon was cheaper. Guys, you want to save a little bit of money? Don't be afraid to shop around. Shop Amazon. You'll find brand name parts. Now, if you want to use those original power steering lines, you're going to need an adapter to that power steering pump. This is what it looks like. I bought it on Amazon, a company called Z-Whip. It's an adapter. It takes that M16 line and converts it to 5/8 so you can hook up those original hoses. It cost me $21. Now, I know I've seen guys use the stock accessory bracket kit. I bought this guy because it helped run that power steering pump nice and tight. Place the alternator up here, just clears my hood. It's an ICT billet piece. Did I have to buy that? Probably not. But I did. And it cost me $217. Worth it. It's a good piece. Now that you've got your accessories worked out, your alternator, your water pump, your power steering pump, you're going to need a new serpentine belt. I bought a Goodyear. It's a 6-rib, 77-inch belt. It cost me $23. I'm running power brakes, which means I needed an adapter that goes into the back of the manifold. Connect my brake booster to that. It cost me $9. I had the belt covers off this. I decided to buy new gaskets. Fel-Pro 50504. They cost me $16. Intake manifold gaskets, they were another $50. For all the other gaskets, I bought this kit. TCS 45993, and it cost me this much. This is a fuel injector. When you get a motor that's been sitting, you should probably check it, because if you don't, and one of these guys is stuck open, and you're troubleshooting your Holley Terminator X, meaning you're cycling the key on and off, guess what? That cylinder is going to be filling with gas. Do you know what happens to a cylinder when it fills with gas? It doesn't leave any room for the piston to go up and down, which means that force has to go somewhere. So guess what? That rod makes a window. Yeah, right there. It makes a window. It also makes a mess out of your valley pan that you meticulously cut and trimmed so that it would fit for that low profile oil pan. But the good news is it didn't take out that very expensive 302-2 Holley oil pan. I'll take it. That's a win. Something positive. So I bought new gaskets for these guys before I put them in. I also bought a tester to test them. It was about $30. There's a whole video on that. It's in the description. These were the gaskets I bought. This GM part number 125-87147. I couldn't find a receipt, but I'll tell you what, they weren't free. Now you could reuse those factory exhaust manifolds, but why would you? I didn't. For around $320, I got these headers, long tube from Speed Engineering. So I married these up to an existing exhaust. You can see there's my Flowmaster exhaust that I had on the car before. You're gonna need clamps. First, an adapter, 3-inch to 2.5-inch. That was $20. Then you're gonna need band clamps. I got another $20 in band clamps. Not super happy with the look, but you know what? It works. Guys, now you could reuse the spark plug wire. These guys, nothing wrong with that. But I didn't. I bought these. They're the Dragonfire. They're red. Are you really gonna reuse old spark plugs? Nope, not those either. I bought these. You're gonna need 8. They were $44. Stock replacements, 41-962s. Running fine. In order to get this alternator converted over to work with the original wiring harness for the car, I bought this adapter. It's from American Auto Wire, which means, yeah, it was expensive, $38. Guys, we haven't talked about computers. So you've got this LS engine. It's fuel injected. You could use the stock computer. I have the stock computer out of the original truck that it came in. Did I use it? Nope. Fell into the trap. Holley Terminator X. Yep, I bought one. It's an investment, but I did it. I like it because I can tune it. I can make adjustments. I can do everything I need to do. I don't have to buy credits. I don't need to download HP tuners. I'm sure that's easy too, and I'm sure it's also an awesome way to go. But for me, I wanted full access to change anything at any time, have it adjusted, because someday, I don't know, maybe I want to put a power adder on it. Turbo, supercharger, I don't know, nitrous, who knows. But this way, I'm all set. I figured it's an investment. I'm going to have this long term. It's not going anywhere. So I bought the Holley Terminator X. It is not cheap, and it has only gotten more expensive. So here's that Terminator X. I went ahead and used some Velcro and put it right underneath this heater box. This Terminator X cost me $1254 several years ago. This same unit today is about $1,700. That's one expensive PC. I could buy 2 iPhones for that. It even came with a 3.5-inch touchscreen, which I mounted to the steering column. All those wires run through a grommet in the firewall. It's another one of those little things, but you're going to need it. It was $27. Another $27. I also bought a new air temperature sensor. It was a Holley unit. It was $23. You're going to want this guy. It lets you tune on the laptop versus on that 3.5-inch handheld. The laptop is the way to go. That adapter was $63. I also bought a splitter. Absolutely not necessary, but this way I can have that adapter plugged in while it's plugged into my 3.5-inch handheld. I made a video on that too. Look below. There's some good stuff down there. Well, I don't know if it's good, but there's some stuff. So the motor that I managed to put a rod through the side of the block was a 2005. This motor was a 2003. I actually ended up using the intake and a lot of parts off that 2005, like the drive-by-wire. When I bought that 2005, the guy I bought it off of gave me this. It's a pedal, it's a stock pedal out of a truck, and this thing. I'm not really sure, but I can tell you this, that Holley Terminator X, if you specify the drive-by-wire, it will come with the right plug for the throttle body, as well as the right plug for an accelerator pedal. So here's that pedal assembly. It's not actually the one I wanted. The one that I actually wanted had ribs, very much like the original one. And you can see, I had to make a bracket. I bought this pedal in 2023 for $142. Today, it's gonna cost you about $220. I also bought this from ICT Billet. It actually eliminates the fuel vapor purge solenoid, I think. Pretty sure that's what it was. Anyways, I wasn't gonna run it. This little cutoff plate was about 17 bucks. While we're in here, I also bought this intake setup. This is a Spectre Performance. Yep, I know guys, I know what you're saying. It's still running that hot air from inside the engine compartment. But this is what I bought. It actually came with a box that wraps around here, but then I have to move my wiper fluid. I didn't want to move the stock location to mount it, so I went ahead and just put it in there for now. Probably end up putting it somewhere where we get some nice cool air. But what I'm trying to get to is that Spectre Performance. That tubing and filter cost me about 193 bucks. You could probably find something cheaper. All right guys, big part of this LS conversion, you now have fuel injection. You could run a carburetor. I didn't. I'm running fuel injection, which means I need a fuel pump. I need a fuel filter, and I also need a new fuel line. I ran a complete new system all the way from the back to the front. I could have reused the old stuff. I could have bought a fuel pump. There's a lot of things I could have done. In fact, in the comments, go ahead and tell me how you would do it, how you would save money. Because again, I'm sure there's a bunch of people saying, you don't need any of this stuff. You could just use a lot of those stock components. And I'm sure you can. That's just not what I did. And like I said, somebody with a muscle car and a hot rod that they're gonna have forever, it might be worth putting a little bit of money to, or a lot. All right guys, I jumped in the deep end head first. I bought the Holley Sniper full EFI fuel system setup. In the tank is a fuel pump. This is a tank's tank, so a replacement, fits in a 1971 Chevelle, holds an extra, I think, couple gallons, can't remember. It's got the cutouts on either corner for the exhaust, for dual exhaust, but I paid up for this. I paid about 580 bucks for this whole kit, but it came with everything. Again, the fuel pump, the fittings, the neck. I didn't want to guess. I want to make sure I got what I needed. This same kit today, I hate to say it, I paid 580 bucks for it, but this same kit today, if you were to buy it, it has gone up significantly since I bought it just a few years ago. And you see we're looking up there, but I bought a combination fuel filter and regulator, pressure regulator. I'm not real happy with the pressure regulator. It's running about 68 PSI, which is about 10 PSI over what the system should be running. I'm probably going to end up swapping that out and get a proper filter and regulator. All the lines and fittings. Also ran all new fuel line up to the front of the car. That built-in fuel filter with a regulator was 63 bucks. It already has the AN fittings, so it's not a complete stock replacement. It's already got the AN fittings. I bought all -6 AN. I did flexible line to the filter and back to the gas tank, including the return line. That's the other thing that filter has. It's got a return line built right in it. So I don't have to run a return line all the way to the front of the engine. It takes care of it right back here with the filter. 3/8 aluminum fuel line. The fuel filter was 63 bucks. The fuel line was $18. It's aluminum tubing, 3/8 tubing. The tubing clamps that I'm using to run it all the way up to the front of the engine, those are $23. I bought a new gas tank. You guys saw it. Hardware cost me 23 bucks. I bought various AN fittings. I bought all Summit brand. I estimate I got about $60 just in AN fittings. It's probably light. Under the hood, you're gonna need this guy. That's a nose piece, and that connects the AN line to that original fuel rail. It was about 14 bucks. You're also gonna need, in addition to the fittings, some flexible line. I ran hard line as far as I could, but I did need some flexible line. That black nylon hose cost me about 34 bucks. I made a quick video on how to assemble AN fittings onto flexible line. You're gonna need some lube. That lube's about 12 bucks. Guys, so like the fuel system, I jumped in head first into the deep end. I didn't wanna mess with trying to piece together parts to put a 350 or a 400 or even a 4L80 or a 4L60 in the car. I wanted another stick shift car. The Muncie 4-speed I had is in this car, but I'm old. I wanted a cruise. I wanted smooth shifts and I wanted overdrive. So I bought a Terminator TKX 5-speed. Again, I bought the full kit. Called the guys at Silver Sport Transmission. They hooked me up. Cost me almost $5,000, but they hooked me up. I got the bell housing, I got a flywheel, I got the clutch, I got all the adapters, I got all the hardware, I got a hydraulic throw-up bearing, I got the hydraulic master cylinder, all the linkage, everything I need to convert from a manual linkage to a hydraulic setup. I got the shifter, I got all the fluids, the brake-in fluid and the gear oil for that transmission. Everything I needed. Well, almost everything. I still bought LS flywheel bolts. I bought ARPs. They were $30. After you measure the run out, which is really important, measuring the run out, basically the center line of your crank to the center line of the bell housing, you might need to make an adjustment. I made a video for that too. The link is below. Rob MC makes some really good adjustable dowel pins. I bought those. They were $40. The kit came with one of these plastic alignment tools for the clutch. I bought a metal one that I can't find. It was $30. Also, that new transmission is close to the similar length, but it takes the big yoke. Some kits, you actually prepay for the drive shaft. My kit, I didn't prepay. So I went to Henderson Driveline, a local guy. He made me a new one, cost me about $600. Last but not least, I'm running electric fans. The fan kit I actually got for free. It actually came with the 57 gasser, with the 57. Thank you, Josh. Needed some relays and some fuse links. Those cost me like another $26. Could you run a mechanical fan? Sure. But the Holley Terminator X can manage electric fans. I run one, and when it gets hot, I run two. So here's the total. It's a big number. It's a real big number. It's more than the $8,000 that I had budgeted, and way more than I told my wife it was going to cost. But I have a money-saving tip for you. I did not buy anything from Summit Racing without using, you got it, a coupon. What? A coupon? A coupon? Really? A coupon? Yes. You go to car shows or Good Guys events, Summit always has a booth, almost always has a booth there. And in the booth, they're giving away catalogs. On the front of that catalog is a code for 10% off. They have no limitations, so it's 10% off your purchase. So all my big ticket items, like my tanks, like my $580 Holley fuel tank and fuel pump, all that stuff, 10% off. You can buy your transmission from there too. They sell Silver Sport and American Powertrain. Again, 10% off. To my knowledge, they still offer no restriction, which means 10% off. 10% off is a big number. Again, here's the total. 10% off that is a pretty big number. Now, you're not going to buy everything on there, but some of the big ticket items, you can really save some dough. And oh, by the way, if you buy from Summit, you've got access to their technical service. Like the Silver Sport guys, their tech service, awesome. I'm not afraid to admit it. I don't know everything, but you know what? Sometimes you got to ask an expert. These guys, they're experts. So what would I do differently? I'll tell you what I would do differently. First and foremost, I would have checked all those fuel injectors before I did my first conversion. Also, my first conversion, I wasn't going to do any upgrades to the engine. I was going to put it in stock. You know what? I wouldn't have been happy with that. The best thing I did was invest a little bit of money, put the new cam in. While it's out, that's the time to do it. But not checking those fuel injectors cost me a whole year and another motor at another $800. That was an expensive lesson, a really expensive lesson. For a $30 tester, I could have had my answer and saved me all that pain and aggravation. All in all, I'm super happy with my LS conversion. You guys saw the oil catch can underneath the car. I either have a cam sensor that's leaking or I have a rear main leak, which is another mistake. I wish I would have changed that rear main when it was out of the car. There's two schools of thought on that. One is, if it's not leaking, don't mess with it. They're hard to align and sometimes they're prone to leaks if you were to change them. In my case, my whole engine was covered in oil. I thought it was a leaky valve cover, so I didn't think anything of it. But while that engine was out of the car, that rear main would have been easy to fix. Looks like I'm probably going to do it now while it's in the car. So keep an eye out for a future video where I'm going to change that rear main. Maybe. I drove it all last year. At least a little bit of oil. Horsepower sweat. Guys, I hope this was helpful. Again, all the part numbers are in the description. All the costs I shared with you. My running total also shared with you. I hope you got something out of this video. As always, if you got anything out of it, please like, please subscribe, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.